All right, here we go. It's a Wednesday, and we go inside the war room. It's Bruce. It's Gaydos. We've got our panel. Goodness gracious, Bruce, we've really brought in some big, heavy hitters here today.
Say the least.
Yvonne Wingett Sanchez from the Washington Post, formerly from the Arizona Republic, 20-plus years. It's great to have you here.
Good to be
You
here.
put WAPO next to your name. That thing's got serious.
I know, we got a
all of
Washington
sudden.
Post person. That's pretty
Just
good.
saying, I should sit up more.
Gayle Bass, TV and radio personality. Gayle, how are you?
And
Good,
film.
and I don't have a paywall like she does.
The paywall's worth it. Once you get past it, it's worth it.
Hey, I
We
pay
gotta get
monthly.
Gayle a
I pay
Thank you for
monthly.
that. Thank
I
you.
pay. I like the WAPO, so you know.
And we got Chuck Coughlin, CEO of HighGround. Good to see you, man.
It's great to be here in the symposium with this
Let's-
esteemed crowd.
I know
Let's
how you
get
feel.
right to it. There
Okay.
are a couple of articles that are out today, and I think it's pretty interesting. One's from Politico. I don't remember where the other one is from. But the basis of these articles is you have Republicans who are secretly rooting against Donald Trump. And I'm wondering if this is true or it's just a bunch of BS. One of the articles states, I think this was the headline of Politico, if Republicans want to win, they need Trump to lose big. What do you guys make of this? Is this just noise, or is this actually something that's happening?
Well, can I also say, when you say what to win, I also hear that can mean down ballot as well, because we've seen that phenomena play out here in Arizona.
I think that piece was dead on. And
Really?
It's sort of been the open secret around here for a long time. I mean, look, people kept thinking that in order for the party to move forward, people like former Arizona Republican Party Chair Kelly Ward, like they needed to burn it down. They
Yeah.
needed to accelerate the decline. That obviously didn't happen. In fact, they were only empowered, and that's why we're living through this moment. Yeah, I mean, people will tell you that they hope that he loses in the same way that Republicans did not expect Donald Trump to win in 2016 and were
begin with.
secretly hoping Hillary Clinton would win to accelerate their chances.
Interesting.
I always felt that the Republican Party followed that Ronald Reagan ethos. You dare not speak about another Republican, but all that went out the window when Trump started running for office the first time, when he ran for the presidency. What I see for me is that it's going to take open warfare for something to happen. And I think the Lincoln Project is basically the opening salvo. And if I feel like if Donald wins again, all bets are off. If Kamala wins, then I have a feeling that something has to change with the Republican Party for them to have to lose 2 elections in a row like that.
Well, it's not just 2. I mean, let's go back to Arizona's electoral history. So Trump wins in 16.
Yeah.
Sinema wins in 18.
Correct.
Biden and Kelly win in 20. Kelly, Hobbs, Fontes, and our Attorney General all win in 22.
Yeah.
We're on a losing streak, people.
Yeah.
When I left working for Governor Brewer in 2014, the highest elected Democrat in the state was one person on the Corporation Commission.
I was going to go with mine inspector. I was really hoping.
Joe Hart would have never lost.
How many times have I voted for that guy? Because I think he's the only one that's been on the
God
ballot.
rest his
I'm
soul.
running for mine inspector one day. I'm just
Well,
gonna
you
tell
need
right now.
underground experience. And if this
Well,
counts as underground
yeah.
experience, you might be qualified.
But it's interesting because I hear what you say about that and the down ballot effect. And you know, one thing I always like to point out is the Trump effect on down ballot candidates. Lake, Abe Hamadeh, who am I missing in there?
Like Masters the last time.
I mean, anybody associated with him lost.
Yeah.
And
On a statewide ballot.
and the
Oh,
only
on a
one that didn't
statewide
was
ballot.
Kimberly Yee,
Right.
who had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Right.
Well,
So-
what about the other one who's running again for, I guess he's running, Mark Fincham.
Fincham was another
Oh, he
one.
won. No,
Yeah.
he's in. He's
But last time he
Right.
did not win.
right, but he won a
He's gonna be in Congress.
a legislative
The legislature,
district,
yeah.
say in LD1, which is the most conservative district in the state. In the current primary system, that's exactly
Right.
the guy who wins, and so he beat Ken Bennett.
And what you're going to continue to see is an intense focus on the races where they're winning, right? It's going to be the smaller districts. It's this hyper focus on the legislative districts. It's a hyper focus now that we're seeing on a board that most people up until very recently ignored, the County Board of Supervisors. An enormous amount of power is wielded there.
Yeah.
And they are focusing, they are nationalizing the local races.
And putting money into them.
They're putting money into them. They're putting energy into them. They are putting real, I mean, they're going to be booking hotels to bring out-of-state people to come in here to chase ballots and to help get out the vote for county and legislative races.
But so we've got Yvonne Wingett Sanchez from the Washington Post, Gayle Bass. We've got Chuck Coughlin. Chuck, you wanted to get in on that?
Yeah. So all of that's true in a legislative, anything elected at a district level, because all of those 80% of your legislative and congressional races are decided in the primary. Game over. They are not competitive general elections. Conversely, if you get into a statewide race and win on a statewide ballot, what you need to win is you need to keep 85% of your base, of your party's base, to win, and you need a plurality or a majority of unaffiliated voters. And because winning just Republicans or winning just Democrats,
math here.
Not enough.
Right.
And so whoever wins those unaffiliated voters wins the statewide race. That has been the case since 16. Yvonne is absolutely 100% right on the district races. We'll see how that plays out this time. In Maricopa County, we're going to see that.
I have a question. Let's crystal ball this. Let's say Trump loses. 50-50 shot, looks like it at this point, one way or the other, right? But if he loses, what becomes of the Republican Party? Because I would make the argument, and Chuck and I think, are in the same boat.
Reset?
Well, I'm just saying, I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me.
Yeah.
I'm a Reagan, Bush, McCain Republican. That ain't this.
Right.
Get out. That's apparently what you've been told.
When I did, and I left. I went, fine.
I took their advice.
You guys, I hear you loud and clear. Can it ever get back to that, or will there always be
Come
this?
on, you guys make this too easy for me.
Really?
Well, there's going to be a proposition on the ballot.
Here we go.
Oh, jeez.
This is
Prop 140
different way
will
to vote.
permit open primaries.
Right.
And in my world, that creates an opportunity for a reset on both sides. Because we both know that the most extreme Democrats win in Democratic primaries and the most extreme Republicans win in Republican primaries. Put everybody on the same ballot.
Yeah.
Let people decide. No more barriers to participation. If you're an independent, you can run. If you're an independent, I'm no longer forced to vote for a straight Democratic ticket or a straight. If I like a Democrat for Congress, I can vote for the. If I like a Republican county supervisor, I can vote for the Republican.
It's great.
Vote for whoever you want.
Yeah,
Why do we create
so
these
ready for
barriers
mine,
to
Inspector.
participation?
One of the questions I have about 140, though, and I'm sure one of you here can answer that.
Oh, I can.
If we go to that, does that mean that we could possibly have two Republicans or two Democrats?
No doubt
running?
about it.
Yeah. Running
Okay, because
against each other.
I've seen that in
Yes.
Alaska that has one seat.
Right, but no doubt about it, because like I said before, Gayle, 80% of the districts are either safe Republican or safe Democrat.
Yeah.
One or the other is not going to win. Yeah,
The primary determines the general
Let me use
election.
the most recent example: the congressional race for up in Sun City for Debbie Lesko's seat, and the congressional primary down here for Ruben Gallego's seat. Both extremely Republican or Democratic district. Democrat will never win that seat up there. A Republican would never win Lesko's seat. So it will end up in virtually guaranteed that you will have two Democrats or two Republicans running rather than one person getting a seat for life with 30% of the vote.
You're here.
None of them got over 30% of the vote.
Wow. We've got Chuck Coughlin passionately arguing
Yes,
on his
on
behalf,
Prop
right?
140.
No, I was like, well, yes. Where's my ballot?
Star of TV, radio, and film, Gayle Bass. I throw it in there. And the Washington Post's Phoenix-based reporter. I'm just calling her YWS. That's what her friends call her.
There you go.
YWS. Yvonne Wingett Sanchez. We appreciate her being in here. All right. Tell you what, we're coming up next. Are Trump's allies already attempting to undermine the results of an election that hasn't happened? We're talking about it next. We're Outspoken on KTAR. And we're back inside the War Room, a political symposium, if you will. Even if you won't, we're still doing it every Wednesday at 5, all right? We have our all-star panel in studio with us right now. Gayle Bass, Chuck Coughlin, and Yvonne Wingett Sanchez with the Washington Post. You actually, Yvonne, wrote something recently about what's the terminology people like to use? Election integrity these days. And the undermining of the 2024 election months before it's actually even happened. Can you talk to me about that?
Sure. I mean, I think what we are clearly seeing playing out in front of our very eyes is an effort to cast suspicion on the outcome of the results, no matter what they are. It's really important to, well, if certain people lose, I guess I should say. It's really important
So
to...
the Trump side is doing this.
Republicans are already starting to undermine confidence.
Do you see
yet
the
again.
Harris side doing any of this?
I do not.
All right.
No, I don't. I know that their teams are gearing up for the
Like the
traditional
legal
sort of legal
challenges,
challenges that we are all familiar with and have been familiar with for some time. All that's to say, the attacks on mail-in voting, the claims of election interference by pollsters, by the media, by radio personalities, by people who may be casting doubts or skepticism on certain candidates' ability to win. I mean, that is already being used to claim things like interference.
How many millions of dollars have been spent on election integrity since, let's just say, 2020? Like tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd go bigger than that.
You go bigger?
Oh, yeah.
Am I underestimating?
Well, go back to
then
just
I should
Arizona.
be in Congress if I don't know how to count money.
Well, just go back to Arizona. Just go back to what happened here with the Giuliani team and all them coming out and trying to put pressure on the Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers, to go along, and to Karen Fann, who was then the Senate president. And I was in a conversation with both of them at that time. And I said, hey, I'm so proud that you guys have defended the system. Let me go work on getting a list of, all these Republicans to send a thank you letter to you. And in the middle of that, Rusty's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And the president's like, her chief of staff called and she goes, well, I don't know. And I go, no, I got to hear from her.
Yeah.
Because if
She hired the ninjas.
I can't, and then like a week later,
Right.
opened up the subpoena on the county board of supervisors. And I'm like, I literally texted her that day, texted both of them. And I said, okay, I'm done. Let's watch your party burn to the ground.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's been happening since 20. I mean, that has been happening.
Yeah, and I do think what we should be expecting, and I think what that piece covered, wrote that with Amy Gardner, is potentially monitors, once again, at the drop boxes. CPAC Foundation, which is based in Washington, D.C., has written to a bunch of election officials around the country, and they have said, we are going to put monitors in certain jurisdictions. They have not identified which ones.
You mean like a camera or somebody actually watching?
Actual physical monitors, like similar to what we saw in
We had
2022.
the
where
armed
we had the
people
armed
in lawn
observers.
chairs watching the boxes.
Correct. What is different about what they are talking about doing this time is they are saying that they are considering using open source information. That set off alarm bells. That could mean facial recognition. That could mean getting people's driver's license numbers. That sort of information could end up in databases. It could end up
Voter
online.
intimidation.
Well, all it takes is one person like me who has standing, because I'm not an elected official, I'm just a voter. All it takes is one phone call to the ACLU saying, you are violating my rights.
Right.
Here I am saying you are violating my rights by exposing me and my information to people who don't need it. CPAC does not need my voter information.
And so this is
I've already
what-
been vetted by the state. They sent me a voter ID card.
Yeah.
So litigation, obviously, it has not come yet, but
No.
this is what is happening in the open. So it begs the question of what is being planned behind the scenes.
Well, now that we put this out there, there are people who are like, okay, am I going to go to a ballot drop box? I don't want anybody to see me. I don't want facial recognition. and maybe I won't vote this time. Maybe it's one of those
and
things
that's
where
the
I'm
whole
just not going
plan.
to do it.
That's the whole plan.
Keep me at home.
Is suppressing the vote?
Suppress, right.
voter suppression.
Listen,
they
I come from
don't want you to. They don't want you to go drop your ballot off. That's
how are
I
we
come
gonna-
from people who didn't have a right to do it. So if we're going to have a fight about it, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I have
Gayle
no
Bass is
doubt.
ready.
I would
I'm
not
ready.
want to meet Gayle Bass at the.
I was like,
yeah.
this is a waste of time. There's so many other things that we
But
should be
you're
concerned
exceptional.
about.
You're exceptional that way. I mean,
Not everybody-
You've experienced this in your life. I'm a white boy from Ann Arbor, Michigan, who grew up in a good family, and when I see like stuff like this, I'm like, nah, really, that's really happening. You know it is.
Well, what did
I'm like, nah,
what did
you know.
Dave Chappelle say? We on this.
Yeah, exactly.
We on. It's like
Exactly.
it's like please don't. It's like this to me is a waste of time and money that could be spent on schools and teacher pay.
I think,
you know what I mean?
I think one of the things, and I realize how few people, I know everybody in this room does, but how few people understand how elections work. We're not even talking about like state by state. We're talking county by county election rules that are different all across this great nation.
I talk to people all the time. I talk to people at my church all the time, and they're all bought in on all of this. I'm like, okay, show me something, and they can't.
No.
And then I point out, like, do you know everybody's ballot is different? And they're like, oh my God, no way. And I'm like, yeah. Everybody outside of your neighborhood gets a different ballot because your ballot's built for where you live.
Yeah.
And they're like,
and every
that's
county
mind-blowing
has
to
a
them.
different system, even in the state of Arizona, much less every other state. It's amazing. We're inside the war room. Our great panel sticking around with you. And we want to talk next. The debate is coming up.
Oh, I can't wait for this
next Tuesday.
It's a big fight feel. That's all I got to say.
We had, I guess, finally an agreement that was reached today. Has that already handed Trump the upper hand? We're going to talk about it. It's coming up next. We're Outspoken on KTAR.
All right, here we go. Second half of the War Room every Wednesday, a political symposium. Yvonne Wingett Sanchez is with us from the Washington Post, obviously formerly of the Arizona Republic for about 20 years. We've got Chuck Coughlin. We've got Gayle Bass. And next week, we've got a debate. I mean, this is going to be good. I mean, the debate between Biden and Trump, Bruce, we thought, oh yeah, this is going to be a disaster, and no one thought it could be that big of a disaster, but it was. One of the things that came down today about this debate is that the mics are going to be muted.
Right. Now, this was the plan all along, but the Harris campaign was arguing against it, trying to unmute the mics. They agreed today to the rules.
Right.
The mics will be muted when the other candidate is speaking.
Okay.
And they also cannot direct questions at each other.
All right, who does this help, Trump or Harris? The mics will be muted.
That helps Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why she wanted him off, so he would interrupt her and run over her. It's a great aid to keep Trump disciplined because he doesn't have any internal discipline, and he would yell at her.
Yeah, but can't you think of it the other way, where he would interrupt her? He would probably have a decent one-liner because that's what he does. Remember with Hillary Clinton, there was something going on in the debate, and he interrupted because you'd be in jail. And the place went nuts.
Right.
He won't be able to do something like this. So I can actually disagree with you. I think this.
I don't think there's an audience in this one, though.
I know.
There is
I
no
get
audience.
that. I
So
get
there's
that.
not, you won't get a reaction.
And they
You won't get
can't
a-
address each other.
Then why are we having a debate if you can't address each other?
I'm with you on that.
This is ridiculous. Unmute the mics. Let them talk. And if it's a blank show, it's a blank show.
Here's the biggest difference. So 2016 to 2022, that's 6 years ago. Donald Trump was 6 years younger then.
Okay.
And I think this is danger zone when he gets off script.
I got a couple of thoughts. First one, I do find it slightly amusing that Trump's handlers are simultaneously demanding that Harris talk more and Trump talk less. You know, I mean, that's basically their argument, right?
Yeah.
We want her to talk more to the press. What about Trump? Shut up, for God's sakes. Quit talking.
Yeah.
Don't say anything out loud.
But it's probably going to be 50-50. They're going to be given a chance to speak, and it's not going to be 70-30, so it's going to be 50-50.
I think so on some level, right?
Yeah.
And who knows if there'll be actual substance in this
No idea.
in any way, shape, or form. Yvonne?
Well, but I will say, I mean, I think the last debate, the Biden-Trump debate, was very instructive. If you think back to some of the key moments that happened, the mics weren't even really a thing. Trump was very disciplined. He let Biden speak, and he had many memorable one-liners, one of them being, I don't understand what he said, and I don't necessarily know that he does either.
It was a big line. Yeah.
That was a big line. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the kind of approach, and those are the kind of moments that he's going to have.
I've always said, you can't win a debate, you can only lose a debate. But I hadn't seen anybody actually lose a debate until Biden.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there was a definitive loser. Trump didn't win that debate.
The 2018 debate
Biden
with McSally, Kirsten Sinema, the treason
and I go
claim.
back to my own historic debebate moment with Jan Brewer's 13
the 13
seconds of
When
silence.
she vapor locked.
That was epic.
But she still won.
Well, what
Quote,
I said to her
unquote,
afterwards,
won.
I said, nobody, just your line, Bruce. I said to her, nobody's ever lost a debate for not saying anything. I said, good job.
Okay, so we're inside the war room. What's the strategy for, let's start with Kamala Harris. What's the strategy to win that debate? What do you guys think?
I think she just needs to be her prosecutorial self, and she needs to throw in a one-line or two, like, because remember, she can induce people into admitting things. If you've seen her in the Senate asking questions, she'll be fine. Her only thing is that she should just take a lesson from her boss and say, don't do that. That's all she has to do is just perform better than that.
Can she answer questions off the cuff? She's not very good at it.
Well, I think she can. I think we're going to find that out.
We're gonna find out.
I agree with you. The hazard for her is word salads. When she goes too long and she runs too long. I think she knows that. So I think they've trained her on that. So she needs to do three things, I think. And there was an article in the Times today that Carville wrote about similar stuff. But,
So three things Harris needs to do to win the debate.
She needs a quick and easy response that flips the immigration issue back onto Trump. She needs a quick and easy response on the inflation issue.
Okay.
And she needs a quick and easy response about when she would shed American blood. For what?
So she's got to memorize those three things.
I think so.
And have a set and have a
talking point,
Yeah,
whatever.
set talking
And
point.
then let Donald do whatever the hell Donald wants to do, and let him run off the mouth and just hopefully implode. I mean, that's what my hope.
When he starts going after the news anchors, know that he's not. He's not where he.
But this gets into what does Trump need to do to win? He needs to talk about immigration. He needs to talk about the economy. He needs to stay on message. That's what he needs to do. He's proven up until now he doesn't have the ability to do that.
And I think he needs to answer the abortion and the abortion question in a way.
How are you going to pay for that IVF you said you were going to pay for?
And the IVF and the duplicity, the very mixed messages. I mean, that
and
is
election
going to be
security.
And election security, and like just responsible and make people feel like you are listening to the concerns that you are not going to responsibly run this country.
Yeah, and I think the other thing for Harris is to bring up the Arlington National Cemetery stuff too, and embrace the idea that we've made mistakes in Afghanistan, and I apologize to the American people for our mistakes there, but we need to be very careful about where we shed American blood, but I will never denigrate it. I will never, be a hypocrite about the sacrifices of others. Throwing John McCain under the bus, throwing all these people under the bus. I talked to a lot of veterans. There's a lot of veterans that are independent voters who have talking to us about our initiative. And, Jimmy McCain the other day. Jimmy McCain.
We had him on yesterday.
Right, going on and saying, it's just the hypocrisy of using Americans for American people who've paid the highest price for your own political benefit.
Right.
It's wrong. And I think that's going to be something we'll talk about.
Next Tuesday, it's on. Obviously, we're going to carry it here on KTAR, followed by you and I getting to stick around, Gaydos, on your birthday. That's the way I look at it.
Acknowledge me. It's my birthday.
Yes, his birthday.
Trump and Harris have ruined it.
Ruined your birthday.
Absolutely ruined it.
All right.
God forbid democracy go on your birthday.
I think you can wait a day.
It's the War Room. We've got Yvonne. We've got Chuck. We've got Gayle, Gaydos, and myself. And we'll come back on the other side. a lot of Republicans are lining up to support Harris. Another one today, a former elected official. Do these actually mean anything to anybody? And do they sway any voters? We're talking about it next. We're Outspoken on KTAR. And we're back inside the war room with our expert panel, the good and the great of the Valley. Yvonne Wingett Sanchez, Phoenix-based reporter for The Washington Post. Chuck Coughlin, the CEO of HighGround Consulting and star of TV, radio, and film. She makes me say that part. Gayle Bass is with us. So I have a question, and it just happened earlier today. Liz Cheney, at a symposium of her own, came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Liz Cheney, is she a former Republican? I don't know. She might still call herself a Republican, former congresswoman.
She's as conservative as he get.
Her last name's Cheney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
come on. I don't know why people keep saying she's not one of us. She is one of you. She's like royal family.
Dick Cheney's
She's part of the extended
daughter.
royal family of Republicans, okay?
Yeah. I mean, you add that to Jim McCain we just mentioned, Adam Kinzinger, Mesa Mayor John Giles,
A lot of people in Trump's
Stephanie
cabinet.
Grisham, a bunch of people, former cabinet members. Does any of that matter? Does anybody care that Liz Cheney is voting for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump? By the way, I would have been surprised if she said it the other way around.
Right. I mean, I think it's just sort of baked in the cake at this point, right? Like, it would be surprising if she said she was going to vote for Trump or if she was supporting Trump. I think all the people that you've listed and then some, it's not going to be a surprise. If, in a state like Arizona where Trump lost by 10,457 votes and every single vote matters and it's a knife fight to the end, of course, any surrogate, any support, any endorsement can help either side, I suppose.
Endorsements, vice presidential picks, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I'm with her that I think it's like it's part of the tapestry of the election that takes place, and I think it speaks more to the demographics of the election and the narrowness of the Trump constituency, the platform in which he's working off of, and then the ability to grow that on the Harris side. Does this deliver me some Republican votes? Does this deliver me some independent votes? Can I grow my electoral universe?
Chuck, is it about giving people cover? Is it like
permission?
Permission. I can cross that line. I'm not the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, what I think is actually the most interesting endorsement storyline is the play among athletes and among like UFC fighters and like the Hulk Hogans of the world, right? Like if you're bringing out low propensity voters and you are hitting rodeos and NASCAR events and people who feel like they have not fundamentally been spoken to by the elites, by the dynasties, these political dynasties, those are interesting.
Well,
Dale Jr. might be the biggest endorsement that you could get, right?
Swiftie.
or Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's one because it reaches a part of the demographic that's not a high propensity voter. Can she help turn out a group of voters that's not a high efficacy universe of people that always vote, younger voters?
She could get younger voters to register and vote Democrat.
Right.
She's it.
That's Cardi B did. Remember when Cardi B made that video when Biden was running and she started talking about
So what we're saying is like
lady issues?
Yep.
There you go.
But this is the difference between like likely voters and there's all these. You guys use all these phrases for like how likely is a person to actually vote.
Right.
And the game this cycle, especially among Republicans, is to turn out people who don't vote. Right? To register new voters and to try to speak to them in their language, reach them in their way, in rural parts of the state, in urban parts of the state, in South Phoenix at the rodeo grounds, and to speak to them in their language and to make them feel like they are being heard and talked to in a way that they haven't been before.
I think that's Democrats' game too. I saw, like Rubin. Rubin went and did a boxing event with a large group of Hispanic men and did had a boxing event where we were as a watch party for a UFC fight.
Yes.
That's what he's doing. He's trying to get that part of that male
Right.
Hispanic demographic that's been leaking off the edge.
Right.
Going, you gotta come home.
The difference is that's like one guy going out there and doing it, and on the right we actually see a machine. Now, will they be successful? Who knows?
Right, that's my question about the Turning Point constituency. I just don't see a lot of juice in those oranges. I just don't see that there's a lot of
I like
opportunity.
that phrase. I don't see a lot of juice in those oranges. Give me a T-shirt.
I'm just waiting to find out who Kevin Sorbo tells me to vote for. Okay, I'm just waiting for the big hitters. All right, guys, thank you so very much for being a part of the War Room. Gayle Bass, Chuck Coughlin, Yvonne Wingett Sanchez, thank you so much. YWS. I like that a lot.
Thanks
The
for having me.
symposium.
Political symposium, if you will.
It's the War Room.
Every Wednesday at 5. Next Wednesday, we're going to do it. That'll be the post-debate one.
That's going to be good.
It could be a full-blown brouhaha.
Post-debate war room, yeah.
All right.
Are we gonna bring birthday cake?
Yeah.
Let's
Checking the
Acknowledge me, it's my
headlines.
birthday.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.